Hello, everyone. Welcome to a Planet Lean interview with the one and only John Shook. Hello, John. How are you?
I'm wonderful, Roberto. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you very much. It's an interview from Barcelona to the US. We cannot meet in person. We haven't met in person in a while now, but it's a great opportunity to have a chat and share some of the things we've been up to at LGN with our readers.
Yes. We haven't gotten together in about 2 years. Is that right?
Yes, something like that. Yes, I think it was September 2019. So yeah, long time now.
Long time now. Yes.
So, well, I wanted to start with a little bit of sort of the elephant in the room. So when something has happened in the past year and a half that has pretty much changed, some would say everything.
Why haven't we met in the last 2.5 years?
Exactly.
What happened? What happened?
Exactly that. It's been very interesting to observe the Lean community over the past year and a half. And I think we are in a very privileged position in that we get to speak and learn with so many companies. And of course, there have been a lot of struggles, a lot of new things, lots of things to change in a very short span of time. So I was wondering if you could share some of your thoughts on what's been happening and sort of like what you think the role of Lean has been and can be in this situation with the pandemic and what comes after.
Goodness, Roberto, you start off with the biggest, most difficult question of all.
But it would be all downhill after that.
I don't know. It has been the biggest, most profound change or thing to happen to us, impact in our lifetimes. And my lifetime is about twice yours. And I don't know, but if you go back to, for example, the generation of my parents and grandparents, there were amazing things that happened. There was a pandemic 100 years ago, very, very similar actually. And then if you look at everything that happened in World War II, tremendous upheaval has happened before. But certainly in my lifetime, this is the biggest thing. There's a certain equilibrium, coming about now, a year and a half into it, which is amazing. If you speculate that after a year or so, you really could truly change habits, truly change global habits. Now we have a year and a half, and there are months more to go, but we seem to be kind of getting used to it. And I think that even, informs the fact that we're having this conversation now. We've kind of learned to adapt. And to some degree, maybe coming out of it, a combination of so many people being vaccinated, and then so many people maybe not vaccinated, but haven't actually been gotten ill. We've learned how to deal with it. I notice now going around, not just in Japan, where people have always worn masks pretty regularly. Now everyone does. It's a very interesting thing. I see everyone, as I've traveled a little bit around the United States. Different regions, have adapted to wearing masks more readily or comfortably than others, but it's not a big deal anymore, as it was. And again, so many people have been vaccinated. I just got my booster shot, Pfizer shot, just the other day. Happy to get that. And again, I have started traveling some, but mainly for a year there, you see my surroundings. So I've been in a log cabin, mainly isolated by myself for about a year. I saw a few friends and family, but not very much. So there are those of us like me who the isolation or the social distancing was impactful in that way. But then the economy's shutting down, and so many people, literally loved ones, getting sick and dying. The impact has been huge. And now, people for a long time have predicted a new normal that would emerge from this. We still don't know what it is, but we're starting to get a sense of it, I think. So again, here we are. Now we've learned how to communicate this way, and we've learned that there are advantages. You and I are part of the Lean Global Network, 31 countries around the world. And so whereas we used to gather together physically, literally gather together once a year, and that's when you and I last met 2 years ago, was that in Brazil, in
Yes.
for a week in Brazil to share learnings, to learn what's been going on with lean thinking and practice in Brazil over the last 20, 25 years.
Yes.
So we used to gather together that way, and we can't do that anymore. So there's something lost. But we've also learned, especially with all the difficulties of time and distance, trying to work globally, we've learned there are a lot of advantages to be able to use these digital tools that were kind of there before. And we talked about them, used them some, but none of us were really proficient with them. And now it's just it's a natural part of work. Let's turn on Zoom or the others, Microsoft Teams or WebEx Meet or something.
Right.
And now we just do that, and we can meet with anyone and anywhere in the world anytime. So the world's a different place. I think we're all changed to one degree or another as individuals as well.
Absolutely.
So there's one quick way to just to just kind of rattle on regarding your big question.
No, it's I think it's a great start, because I mean you raised a few points that, I mean, in my conversations over the past year and a half, I've been talking about these things with folks around the world, and a lot of the organization I've been talking to, they seem to be very keen to share what they've learned, and it's been very interesting to see how they've adapted in the same way that you've mentioned, especially with like digital tools. And with something like lean, where like this interaction between sort of like management and the front line is so vital, and the coaching and all that, I cannot even imagine the difficulties of having to turn that around 100% and doing it remotely. Even the idea of like the Gemba and not being able to go to the Gemba anymore, at least for the first few months of the pandemic. So I don't know what you've been observing, but for me, it's been really interesting to see how people have been trying to adapt, and in a lot of cases with with a lot of flexibility and with great results, really. They've been able, and actually being able to accelerate in some cases, even accelerate their transformations, whether they were digitalization or, the sort of like traditional lean transformation that they had initiated.
I think there's no question about it, and not to go off on an immediate, story or tangent, but just the way you described the situation reminded me of a circumstance I know of out at the Stanford hospitals, healthcare. I've had some involvement with Stanford Children's Hospital for a while, and also the medical school there. And one of the things that they found is they'd been trying for years. They've created, kind of this daily management system with huddle boards where people gather together, and they've been pretty effective, successful as a kind of a socio-technical process. We have this board here. Here's how it works. You write down things. We meet a certain time every day, and so there's a technical or mechanical aspect of it. But then people show up, and then they practice different ways of behaving. They interact in different ways. They try to develop a level of trust so people can elevate problems that we can all tackle together. So they've had some success with that over the years. But something that one of the things they've struggled with. One of the things that happens in healthcare is sometimes it's not so easy to get some of the physicians, the actual physician, the medical doctor, involved, especially surgeons who like to show up and go to the surgical room, the surgical theater, and do their work. But what they found is they've gotten a lot more engagement in the daily and weekly huddles than they ever had before. All of a sudden, physicians are showing up, and even surgeons are showing up as well. And it's like, and you reflect on why that is. And it's this new environment that we're working in actually enables that. It encourages that. It makes it very easy. Then everyone is there. They're on a screen. You can see however many faces, and they're all interacting. It's changed kind of who would show up and how we show up, the kind of interactions that take place in very tangible ways. And there's one example where it really the individuals involved would absolutely support what you were just suggesting, that in some ways it has accelerated the transformation that they were already undergoing.
Wonderful. Very, very interesting. And something else that I wanted to ask you with regards to where, our role as LGN, and I think in a wider way as a community, our role in trying and accelerate the lean transformation of the world, let's say. You and I have talked many times about the role that lean can play, to tackle some of the really big problems that society is facing. And I really do believe that as important as the individual transformations are, I think that we should, in some way, try and be more, I would say, even imaginative, and not being afraid of kind of like dream of what change on a very large scale could happen, because I really do believe that lean could support that change. And if we think about challenges like climate change or poverty, or really getting healthcare systems around the world ready for things like the COVID-19 pandemic, which according to some experts might become, sadly, way more frequent than they have been. So I wonder what your thoughts are in terms of the role that lean can play in a changed world, and to tackle some of those very big challenges.
Well, again, you asked these big questions, Roberto. I didn't know we were going to go into such. But I think what you're asking gets back into what lean thinking in practice, what lean thinking is to begin with, and I think many of us, myself included, see it in just both highly aspirational terms as well as eminently practical. But it absolutely has to do with dreaming. It has to do with how we can recognize and identify, define our aspirations, and then ask questions around how we can get there. So we truly believe that lean thinking can make the world a better place. And in fact, that's why we are part of this Lean Global Network. And it makes sense to take just a moment. I think many people don't know what it is, or even that it exists, but it's the Lean Global Network, LGN as we call it. It's a collaborative network. It's made up of affiliates in 31 countries. That's not as big as the UN, but it's quite a few countries, and it grows. And the individuals, the affiliates, the institutes in every country, they're mission driven. They're mission driven. For the most part, they follow the Lean Enterprise Institute's model, LEI, of being a non-for-profit organization. There are a few countries where that just kind of doesn't compute. Like if you're, for example, if you're a communist nation, the idea of non-for-profit versus for-profit it creates even some confusion. But for the most part, they're all legally non-profits. And if they are or are not, in spirit, they are mission driven. And the mission is to make things better around the world, in every region, every country, every company, for every person, through lean thinking and practice. And there are a lot of ways that we can go about doing that. Out of those 31 affiliates, there's a tremendous diversity, just as there is in the world. Some of them are very large and engage in a wide, range of activities, like Brazil or in Turkey. They have a lot of people involved going out directly supporting companies and how they can undertake and be successful in the lean transformation, and as well as publishing books and running large conferences. Others in other countries, it's mainly a matter of teaching and doing research, not necessarily that same kind of direct intervention, I suppose. It all started when Jim Womack founded the LEI in Boston, 1997, I think it was, as a nonprofit. I think of it as a spinoff out of MIT. He would not put it that way. It wasn't an official spinoff exactly, but there was a body of knowledge that was developed through the MIT research in the 1980s, the machine that changed the world being the famous product of that. And Jim decided that he could try to disseminate and share those ideas better by forming a nonprofit, kind of a think and do tank, rather than within the university setting, within MIT. Within a few years, then Brazil, Turkey, the UK also created institutes. And so around 2007 or 8, I think it was, and I was on the outside. I wasn't part of it, certainly not officially. LGN was formed as its own legal entity, also a nonprofit, legal entity in Massachusetts in the US. And I think it was around 7 or 8 countries at that time. And since we've grown to 31. And so, as we were discussing earlier, we get together, we share, we undertake activities, we learn from those, we learn there are other additional things we need to learn. We'll share all that. What have we learned this past year? What are we doing? And what do we need to learn? What kind of experiments can we run this coming year? So that's what we've done. And so so this year we sit back and think, how can we do that work? We can't do it the way we had done before. Each of those 31 can work in an isolated way, although they have to change the way they work. If I'm in Italy, or if I'm in Ukraine, I have to change the way I work to work with my with the population in my country. But then how we would connect and work across the global network, it has to change. And I think we've all been just figuring this out as we go along. How do we have to change to meet the new challenges, but also to take advantage of the new opportunities? I think not everything that's happened in this last year and a half is negative.
100%. I completely agree with that. In fact, I think it's been a really interesting year for LGN, and a year full of activities. I think in a way we have been getting together more than we used to do it before, because it's been, like very much like the example that you shared earlier of the Stanford Hospital. I mean, it's in a way it's gotten so much easier. Of course, like I used to get on like maybe 70 planes a year to go and meet all the people around the world that we have in LGN, and now not anymore, but I still get to have a great interaction with them, and lots of interesting projects have been coming out of that. So we're working on books, as you very well know. We have a few two books already came out this year, and we're going to be we've been talking about them, and two more are coming out in the next few weeks, and which is very exciting. And it's very nice, I guess, to see. I'm glad you mentioned the machine that changed the world, and I think it's good to see that the machine is still changing the world, that there is so much lean activity going on. And, we have an opportunity leveraging these tools, these digital tools that we've all been learning about. We have an opportunity to really share what we've been learning over the past few years, and even the last year and a half. And this opportunity is coming up next month, right? We have a big event coming up.
So around the beginning of the year, we started thinking about this. Where are we, as a network? Where's the world? What can we do to help? And one of the things that the different institutes, most of them have done for a long time, is an annual event, often called a summit, a Lean Summit, Lean Summit UK, the Lean Summit Netherlands, and Lean Summit Australia, China. And so there are challenges about that still, as each country deals with, adapts to the new circumstance. But we said, as a group, what could we do? And since conducting activities remotely is kind of now the new normal, it opened the door maybe to do something like a global summit, a global event. And this was the first idea. It's something that some of us had kind of wanted to do for a long time anyway. It's just hard to do. If we're going to go, where are we all going to go to and come from? And right. It seemed difficult. But now this opens new avenues to make that happen. And as we explored that idea, someone said, because still now we can work together remotely, but there's still this time problem. I spend a lot of time, traveling to East Asia, where it's basically half a world away from where I usually spend time, 12 hours. So what would we do? And then someone said, I don't remember who it was, said, how about a 24-hour rave, RAVE, which I don't even know exactly what a rave is. I think it's kind of like a party where people get, anyway. And then we just all looked at each other and said, sure, why not? And so we came up with this idea to run a 24-hour around the world virtual event where we would share lean learning and spread lean thinking. And then, some members of the team got together, decided to call it the Lean Global Connection. The idea is to connect as many people as possible. And we're going to circumnavigate the globe. Started in Europe. We first thought we'd start at whatever, 00, GMT time. That's kind of this global thing. We moved that a little bit. We switched that a little bit. We'll start in Europe, and then kind of travel over to the Americas. And from there over the Pacific Ocean to kind of the East Asia, the kind of Australia, Taiwan, Japan, Singapore, Southeast Asia time zone. And then from there, more over across Asia, there's Russia, the Gulf, the Mideast, Eastern Europe, and Turkey, and then back into Europe, including, Africa. So we could we could do this. Someone had the idea before we, had the good sense to think it through, the challenges of it. We said, just let's do it. So that became an aspiration. And we're going to do it. We don't know exactly how it would go. We've never done this before. I'm not sure who has, but we certainly have not. So it's going to challenge us. We've put a lot of work into it already. And I think, anyone can click on Planet Lean. You can find a link there that'll take you to a basic description of what it's going to be about. But we're continuing to put this together. I don't think the Woodstock, the stage was actually, determined until the day it started. In fact, it was still changing throughout the 3 days. In fact, so I think we're going to be a little more planned than that, but we're also going to be open and adaptive to whatever happens. And we have a lot of things that are planned. You mentioned one. So if we started, the Lean Global Network, calling this lean thinking from the research, led by MIT, resulting in the book, The Machine That Changed the World. One of the things that's happening now is that the machine, it was a funny title. The title was developed by anyway, it's a funny title. What's the machine? What's the machine? And you could say, because they started out studying the automobile industry. Well, no, that's what they were studying, was the automobile industry. What's happening to it? Where's it going to go? So the machine could be just the product of the car, but it could also be the entire ecosystem around automobiles, that radically changed the world. They call it the industry of industries, because it's an industry that creates other industries. Mm-hmm. So what's fascinating is that right now, so the automobile industry is now kind of renamed as it's being disrupted into just mobility. Because if you use lean thinking, and to go back to, okay, what is an automobile for? It's to get people into, individuals and others from point A to point B. So it's transportation, it's mobility, it's how we can get around. So actually years ago, there were people in the lean community that said, this is what the automobile should become. It should become a tool for mobility, which again, it always was. But let's make that explicit, which could really then have you approach the problem from different angles. And we've seen a lot of things happen in recent years with Uber and Lyft. And then autonomous, driving has come along. And then we have the shift to alternative powertrains, because by being the industry of industry, the industry of industries, it's also wreaked a lot of havoc on the globe from pollution and other disruptions that are not all positive. So by a lot of the changes in the powertrain, we have new options coming up as far as and also in terms of like utilizing digital tools. The transportation systems can become connected. Cars can be connected and be able to speak with each other. They can become autonomous. They can become shared resources, shared assets, because most cars spend 90 to 95% of their time not being driven. Right. And so that's a wasted asset. Maybe they could be shared. And then electric. So how can we tap into alternative sources of energy? So now with mobility, so we're going to start off the Lean Global Connection with a discussion led by some of the same individuals that did that research back in the 1980s, Jim Womack, Dan Jones, and also Jose Ferro from Brazil, whose name was not on the book, The Machine That Changed the World, but he was part of that research. And then they're going to be joined by Jim Morgan, who's heavily involved. He wrote the book with Jeff Leiker, Designing the Future, and is leading up a lean product and process development initiative in the United States, which Lean Global Network has a global initiative as well. So Jim has spent a lot of time the last 2 years in this kind of new mobility industry, has a lot that he can share about that. So we're going to start this whole thing kind of where we began. Mm-hmm. So the machine that is still changing the world, which I think is a great title. It's a great topic. I look forward to hearing what they have to say. And from there, we will be off and running, going around the globe and just exploring every avenue we can think of that has, having to do with lean thinking and practice and how it's impacting the world today and how we would like to see it impact and improve the world going forward.
That's wonderful. And I have to say, I've been covering these events for like a few years now. And, in a way, this, the fact that it's digital gives us the opportunity. Like I was looking at the lineup, right? It's like the dream lineup. So like it's the lineup that we would never been able to get had it been a physical event, just because of the logistics of it. So it is wonderful. We'll have you, we'll have Dan and Jim, like you said, and we'll have people from, like, literally, I think it's like 30 plus countries, which is the number of countries that we have represented in LGN at the moment. And it's gonna, I think it's gonna be great. And it's the other thing that I think is gonna be is gonna make this event really good is that many of the speakers come straight from the work that our working groups have been doing. So, for our readers, they may not know, but we have working groups in LGN: healthcare, construction, lean product development. And these people are studying these specific industries, lean in these specific industries, and they have been doing so for a few years now. So they're in touch with some of the best cases, and they invited them to speak at this conference. So it's going to be really great.
That's right. So every session, I think every session, or at least almost, will have both one of our members who's been out there, working with organizations, and a practitioner in an organization who's leading the way, who's doing some groundbreaking work. So they'll be kind of sharing together, and most of the actual presenting, I think, will be done by those practitioners with members of the global network as part of that dialogue to help bring out the lessons as best we can. Just as you were talking, I was about to ask you, so okay, I know you're just like me, you won't be able to say just one thing, but what are you most looking forward to? One thing that occurred to me as I thought of the question while you're thinking about it, one of the things that's going to happen is we're going to have Nigel talking about digitization, the digital transformation, and how it relates to lean thinking. Right. So Nigel Thurlow, formerly Toyota, has written a book, The Flow System, where he directly tackles all these issues around how you combine things like Agile Scrum with lean thinking, and digital transformation. And then Nigel Dalton, who is the chair of the Lean Enterprise Australia. He's also on the board of Lean Enterprise Institute in the USA, and comes out of this world as well, of working in digital his entire career, of applying digital tools to different industries to bring about some pretty impressive disruptions. So they'll be talking, I don't know, debating. A debate would be fine with me. But anyway, they'll be discussing what they've learned in that regard. That's one of the things that I'm going to be looking forward to for sure. I'm also looking forward to hearing about all the healthcare work. Actually, the example I mentioned a minute ago about in Stanford, where they found how working remotely has brought about some changes in terms of teamwork at the kind of higher level. That example is going to be discussed by the individuals involved at Stanford. That's also going to be an awesome case. I'm pretty familiar with it, and I think there's a lot more to tease out of that example that we can all learn from. But I think that's going to be another one. Here's another one that's going to be great. Yeah. Not that there aren't, but going to be great. But food. So one of the things that Lean Global Network members have been doing is a real deep dive into the food industry. And the food, of course, kind of like mobility or automobile industry, is so broad, and we all eat every day, and this stuff has to be grown. It has to be transported. It has to be transformed into something that we can that can sustain us humans. And so a lot of great work and just kind of experimental, frontiers of lean, I would call it, has been applied there. And we're going to take, one of the early sessions, I think, on the Lean Global Connection is going to be dealing with that as well, right?
Absolutely. And I think let's say the discussions that will arise from these presentations, that's what I'm really interested in understanding and listening to and participating in, because I think that we really have a great opportunity here to bring people together from all over the world. And I think this is something that sort of like makes us really unique in the lean sort of landscape. LGN, we have this unique global perspective, and I think this is really going to be an opportunity for us to showcase that to the world and facilitate even more conversations. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm sure I'm going to get a few ideas for Planet Lean articles along the way.
I think that's totally true. And we've struggled over the years of how we can most effectively share the tremendous learning that we're getting every year. I mean, as far as sometimes there's some direct working with companies, there have been hundreds and probably 1,000 projects that have taken place. And we share, that's why about 5 years ago, Roberto, we created Planet Lean.
That's right.
And
more than that. It's like 8 years almost.
Time flies, you know.
Time does fly.
You'll notice when you get in, it flies faster and faster as you get older. Trust me, you will. So we established Planet Lean as a way to share these stories, but also as a venue, as a forum for others to come in and share their stories as well. And I have to say, you've done a fantastic job with that. How many Planet Lean articles do you have so far?
I think we are almost 1,000, I think.
Almost 1,000. There you go. I would bet there've been 1,000 projects in working with companies in different.
That's right.
Countries.
All over the world.
And about 1,000 articles. Probably in the 31 countries, they're probably, I don't know, maybe about 10 times that number of people, members of institutes. Again, some are quite large, some are very small, just 1 or 2 people in some countries. Christoph Rosser in Germany, he's a member, important contributing member. It's really just him alone. Yeah. We've had a couple of universities, again, the Singapore Institute of Technology is a member.
Yes.
So we look really very diverse. I think we want to be even more diverse. There are parts of the world we're not as involved as we would like to be, because we want to learn what people in different parts of the world are doing. We see this thinking, this way of working, everywhere. Sometimes people don't call it lean. And some people call something lean that's not lean, right? And so we have that's part of the richness of the world. The world is an unwieldy place, I think. Now we're going to use as roughly a framework for this, the Lean Transformation Framework.
Yeah.
So our friends with the Lean LEA, the Lean Enterprise Academy in the UK, are going to take the lead. This is a good time to inform everyone. There's going to be a main track that's free of charge. We always forget to say this is the entire thing. We're going to do this for free. Hopefully we can pull it off so that it has 4 wheels, brakes work, starts and stops when it needs to.
Yeah.
But 24 hours, there's going to be a main stage, and there will be side streams, kind of like a breakout session at a conference or something like that. And one of those, the LEA, Dave Brunt and team, are going to take us through in a quite detailed way what the Lean Transformation Framework is, and hopefully as people learn that, they can see how it informs can inform kind of everything having to do with what lean thinking and practice is all about. And then at the very end, then we'll have a reflection of how the 24 hours went, what we learned, what we want to do, next time. And we'll use because one of the most important parts so if lean is about, applying and understanding PDCA, if that's such a core part of what lean thinking and practice are all about, then the reflection part of that, right? You have a plan, you have an idea, a hypothesis you want to try, then you put that into play, and there's a dynamic interaction there between what you were planning, which changes based upon what you're learning through as you do things, always grasping the situation. Then the reflection, like John Dewey said 100 years ago, learning comes from reflection, where we do things. So do any animal does things. A lot of squirrels in my yard here, and they're doing things all the time. And there's some PDCA you can see there where they learn not to do certain things because they get attacked. But it's where we can sit back as humans and stop and reflect. And that's where learning comes through. And that's maybe one of the most characteristic aspects of lean thinking, and how it is in terms of how PDCA informs it. So we'll end with some reflection then of what we've done and where we want to go next. So again, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. I hope it all works.
Yes, absolutely. And I think this is a good time to remind people the event is going to be on November 29th and 30th. And like John mentioned, it is free of charge. There will be premium content available as well, but you will be able to participate free of charge. This is part of our mission as LGN to spread lean thinking and practice around the world. And I think people can really expect an incredible event with wonderful learnings from all over the world. And we really encourage everyone to participate. So John, if you have any final thoughts that you want to share, this is the time.
well, I suppose I should at least disclose what I will be doing.
Yeah.
And I plan to be in Japan.
Very good.
So I'll be joining the time zone there with Australia, where Denise Bennett will be kind of coordinating that overall time zone, as Christopher Thompson in Brazil will be kind of coordinating that America's time zone, And then in Europe, there's so many people, so much going on, but Oriol from Spain, Roberto Ronzani from Italy, and others will be kind of working together to make all that work. I'll be in Japan, and I'm planning to explore the cultural context of the history and development of lean thinking. That's my intention. So a lot of what happens in the 24 hours will be of a practical nature. A lot of it will be of a just kind of exploring thoughts, exploring things, nature. My part will definitely be, let's say, because I do think, so I think Jim Womack and Dan Jones were correct when they called it in their 1996 book, Lean Thinking. It's about how we think.
That's right.
And how we think as humans is a hard thing to wrestle down. But as we think about the fact that lean thinking, has its roots in what Toyota developed in Japan over the course of a long time. And I've written about that, including on Planet Lean. Then with some friends in Japan, I'd like to kind of just explore that more. I'm not sure how much definitive will come out of that, but I think it can be useful, though, to think about what kind of mindsets underlie all this sorts of this work, this lean thinking and practice. So that's what I'll be doing. And I really look forward to it. Again, I want to emphasize this is an experiment. And anytime you do something new, there's an experiment there. This is going to deviate from many norms. I think, as Frank Zappa said, all creativity is a matter of deviation, whatever that means. So we're going to be trying things to see how it goes, and I'm sure we'll do better the next year. So this is in November, end of November 2021. And the first time you do something like this, PDCA that's on like an annual scale, it takes iterations, it takes experience for learning to really take root and improve. When a company undertakes a Hoshinkanri, which is an annual process, it takes 3 years. The first time you don't know what you're doing. You're just going to put something together. The next year you had an idea, oh, that was terrible. Here's something much better. It's the third time where you can really start to kind of get it, all cylinders to start to click. So this first time for this, it'll be an experiment. I hope everyone can have fun with us. Then we try to have fun. A lot of it's going to be casual, not a lot of slides and formal presentations so much. There will be some of that.
Yep.
But it's really sharing experiences, sharing learning, and then exploring those together. Thanks for having me here today to talk, Roberto.
No, thank you. It's been great. And again, I think I really like to encourage people to join us on this event next month. And you'll be able to see many more articles coming out on Planet Lean in the next few weeks, giving you little snippets of what you can expect from the event. I would like to thank John for being with me today. And we will.
Can I add one more thing?
Of course. Go ahead.
One more fun thing. So I'm drinking out of this cup that says Rivian. And up on the wall there, you'll see a photo of today. I've taken delivery of my Rivian vehicle.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So this is the electric pickup truck. World's first electric pickup truck, most capable vehicle ever offered for sale. It's as fast 0 to 60 as a Dodge Demon.
All right.
It handles like a McLaren, because it has McLaren, based, derived, inspired suspension. It can do rock climbing better than a Jeep, and all quieter and more luxurious than a Lexus. So I'm taking delivery of mine today. So I'm looking out the window to see if it shows up. So
well, I'll come up and see you as soon as the US opens up to us Europeans, and we'll go on a road trip.
Let's do that. Thank you, Roberto.
Thank you so much, John. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and we'll see you at the Lean Global Connection next month. Thank you.